यह तो तहकीक हुआ धनी है मेरे हाजर, भले अब कहाँ जाएंगे मैं खोज लेऊं इन पर, मैं खोज लेऊं इन पर। यह तो तहकीक हुआ। बोले श्री प्राणनाथ करे की जय, सदगुरु महाराज की जय, कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय। As we talked about yesterday, the predictions, the prophecies about the advent of Devchandraji Maharaj was long made in both Vedic scriptures and Abrahamic scriptures. The advent of Buddha avatar in Vedic scriptures, in the Vedas, and Isa Ruwa Allah, the soul of Allah, the soul of the Lord Supreme, was made in Abrahamic texts such as Quran. We are learning about their lives because their arrival creates a host of opportunities to humanity, lost in this cosmic illusion, Maya, to realize eternal bliss. Described as moksha in Vedic scriptures and salvation or liberation in Abrahamic religious traditions. On yesterday's discourse, we talked about Satguru Devchandraji, his disposition from an early age, his pursuit, and his curiosity in understanding the questions that he had about divine and himself. We said at the age of 5, he had these questions hitting his mind, bugging his mind. Ko ham kasyaste sansara? Who am I? Because in the world, often the physical attributes or the label given to that body is understood as the life. That is not the reality. My belongings are not me. My body parts, my attributes are not me. It's my head, it's not me. It's my heart, it's not me. It's my hand, it's not me. It's my life, it's not me. It's my spouse, it's not me. Who is that me? Who does it belong to? Where is that me came from? That me is defined or called soul in Vedic scriptures. So Devchandraji had these questions at an early age, at the age of 5. These questions about me, these questions about soul, the eternality of soul, the origin of soul, the master of the soul, and the path to self-realization, realizing the self, realizing the soul, realizing the source of the soul, Paramatma. These topics have been discussed all across different scriptures. These questions seem simple and straightforward, yet they are perplexing, incomprehensible to many. They are difficult in their nature. Because as we turned out, as we looked into the early life of Devchandraji, he reached out to everyone, every religious scholars, every elderly people who he thought might have the answers to these questions. But we realized yesterday that it was to no avail. He could not find anyone who could convincingly answer these questions. As such, he desires to go to a bigger town, a bigger city, where he would find more religious leaders and scholars and religious establishments. The place he was born, Umarkot, it's not happening because there's the scarcity of water and not a lot of saints and sages come to his village. At the age of 11, he got a chance to go to Kutch, a town located in present-day Gujarat in India. He got a chance to go with his father, but they did not stay for more than a few months because his father was there to conduct a business for the king. He was a businessman, as we talked about yesterday. At the age of 17, Devchandraji leaves his home. He asked the minister if he could take Devchandraji with them for the marriage procession of the prince, the king of Umarkot. But he says he declines. He declines that request because he knew that Devchandraji was leaving his home. He was running away from his home. As such, he declined that request. Devchandraji leaves his home, packing few belongings of his at the age of 17, sneaked out of his home in the evening because while packing up, it took him some time and he wanted his parents not to see him sneaking out. He got the first glimpse of God in disguise. God in disguise is often referred to as Hukumko Swami in Targam, in the teachings of Mahamati Pranami. He was the Lord Supreme in disguise that gave him the darshan. Devchandraji does not recognize him until he disappears. He initially thought that it must be some thief, some robber, who was there to rob him of his belongings. But when he realized that it was a divine being, it was the God in disguise who gave him the darshan. He was the Lord Supreme in disguise who was guiding him. He instantly regrets for not recognizing him. Dear Sundar Sadji, there are some valuable lessons from the first darsana of the Lord in disguise. First thing, we overestimate the pain and suffering of the difficult times before those actions actually take place. We always fear failure, we always fear losing out, we always fail the unintended circumstances of our actions. We become nervous before the actual event happens. Devchandraji thought that it was a thief, it was a robber, it was a dacoit that was there to kill him, if not, enslave him. But it turned out that that was not the case. Devchandraji thought that he encountered his worst enemy, but actually he found his best friend. Because a friend in need is a friend indeed. When Devchandraji needed the most, God was there. It is also true that during the most difficult times of our lives, we realize our greatest potentials. We realize who we are, what we are made of. While Devchandraji thought that all was lost for him, the cause for which he had left his home, his family back, when he thought all was gone for nothing, he actually found the greatest treasure, God, whom he had been looking for the last 12 years. As we said, from the age of 5, he was looking for God. He was looking for answers. The second lesson that we learned from the first darsana of the Lord in disguise is that God answers to the prayers of his true devotees. Mahamati Prananath in the holy book of Kilvat, one of the books of his compilations, states, Teheki ka araj pahunchata hai jo bhejiye paak din. When you send your prayers with sincerity, God always listens to them. God wants what his devotees truly want. He guides the lost souls, as God in disguise did in the case of Devchandraji's journey towards Kutch. Mahamati Prananath says, God is so kind, God is so benevolent that when we call Him out with our pure heart, with utmost sincerity, when we call Him out once, He speaks to us 10 times. Tu saji karo ek bera, tume jiji karo das bera. He responds to you 10 times straight. Raji is merciful. God is merciful, kind and benevolent. Mahamati Prananath says, the Lord Supreme is not designated of any assignments. He does not have anything to do. All He does voluntarily is shower His grace and love upon His souls, His consorts. And those consorts are none other than us, the Sundarsats, those who are illuminated by the teachings of Dharma, those who are yet to find the transcendent understanding about who they are. Mahamati Pranaji as such says, Akkako kama pachu aura nahi deve ruho lacha. ये तो बिगर माग्या सब कुछ देता है, माग्या पीछे का क्यों न पावता. God has no designations, no responsibilities, but to shower His grace upon His souls. He gives everything to His souls without them asking for it. If you ask for it, there should be no reason for Him not to give it to you. Now, there is a question. Does it mean that if we believe in God, if we sincerely reach out to God and ask for His grace, we do not suffer in this world of some undesired circumstance at all? Is that the case? In Bhagavad Gita, one of the most renowned Hindu scriptures, in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse number 58, Sri Krishna says, if you remember me always, by my grace, you will overcome all obstacles and difficulties. Machitta sarva durgani mat prasadat darishyasi. But if, due to pride, you don't listen to my advice, you will perish. You lose your way. So the idea is, it's not that we do not ever suffer in this world, because we are given a free will, and we sometimes deviate from the right path towards God, towards eternal happiness. And we are the ones who create the circumstances of our lives with the free will that is given to us. One of the biggest misunderstandings about God's benevolence and mercy is explained very beautifully in one of the books, titled Conversation with God by Neil Donald Wallis. He says, God does not care one way or the other what we do. In that book, it seems that God talks to Neil Donald Wallis. Actually, he begins writing questions to God in frustrations due to the failures of his life. He is depressed, and one day he starts writing questions to God, and as he says in the book, God starts responding to him. According to the book, the God says, I do not care what you do, and that is hard for you to hear. Yet, do you care what your children do when you send them out to play? Is it a matter of consequence to you whether they play tag, hide and seek, or pretend? No, it's not, because you know that they are perfectly safe. You have placed them in an environment which you consider friendly and very okay. Just like a parent. As a parent, you always hope that they do not hurt themselves. You send them to schools. You send them out to play. You hope that they do not hurt themselves. But if that happens, that you find them hurt, you are always there to help them, heal them, and allow them to feel safe again, to be happy again, to go and play again the another day. But it is the matter of no concern for parents whether you play hide and seek or tag or any other game in school or when you go out to play it. It is of no concern to them so long as they are playing it safe. And as a parent, what would you do? You would always tell them which games are dangerous to play. While doing that, you cannot always stop them from doing some harmful things, dangerous things. You cannot always be with your kids at school, everywhere they go. Not always, not forever, not in every moment. And it is the wise parent who knows this. Yet the parent never stops caring about the outcome. It never stops caring about the outcome, what happens, whether his or her son, his son or daughter have a good time playing or at school. It is actually this dichotomy, not caring deeply about the process, but caring deeply about the results. That is the divine dichotomy actually. God does not care what we do basically. God cares about how we feel. Yet, it is also true that God does not care about the outcome either. At least, not the ultimate outcome. Because it is not in doubt, it is assured. Mahamati Prananath says, it is what you want that God really wants. It is not God's desire to make you happy. It is whether you want to be happy. It is not God who grants you the blessings of heaven. It is whether you desire to get to heaven, whether you are ready that the blessings fall to you from heaven. Dear Shandarsaji, the beloved souls of the Lord Supreme, the ultimate goal of self-realization is guaranteed for us. Isn't that right? Salvation, moksha is assured for us. As Mahamati Prananath says, Piche sukha hoshi sabana pasharasi chaudhe gatani. Everyone is entitled to that salvation. Everybody is entitled to that moksha that they pursue each and every day in one form or the other. The experience of infinite divine bliss is the reality awaiting us actually. It's just that it needs to be earned. It needs to be collected. Because anything that we get with ease is not worthy for us. Does not feel that good. When we earn the rewards of awakening, then you understand the true value of it. As such we said in Paramdham, we took it for granted, the blessings of Paramdham when we were there. So Raji wanted us to see the other side, suffering, witness the suffering in the world, to realize the eternal bliss that we were enjoying. Unlike the many theologies as we see around the world, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, many other religions, the teachings of Mahamati infer that Raji, the Lord Supreme, does not want us to suffer at all. whether we submit to Him, whether we listen to His words or not, whether we abide by His guidance. He does not send us to hell for our wrongdoings, or punishes us for our divines. He is there for us whenever we call Him out, reach out to Him with our sincere prayers. As long as the relationship is established between Raji and us, He is always there for us. He is all-powerful, all-knowing. He desires what we desire for ourselves. Isn't that the case with our parents? They certainly would like us to be around. However, don't they sacrifice everything for the happiness of their children? They do not want us to fast, to prove our love for them, care for them. All they want is a regular contact, regular communication. My mom lives in Nepal. She's happy that I'm here. I'm doing okay. Whenever I call her and tell her that, Mom, I'm okay here, she cries and hopes that I call her regularly. That is all she expects from me. So Raji, the Lord Supreme, whom we have eternal relationship with, would He not be happy with our happiness? Would He not be happy with our choices? That is the whole concept of free will. All He wants is that we witness the suffering in this world, to realize how fortunate we are in Paramdham to be in eternal presence with Him, in His eternal presence. That is all He wants us to know. So the concept of heaven and hell is non-existent in the teachings of Mahamati Prananath, because it was God's free will. And God created this cosmic illusion, and He knew from an onset that we would be forgetful of Him. So why would He eternally damn us to hell? Mahamati Prananath, for that matter, says, Deta Didara Savana Poshan, Jinahu Jai Shachaya. God gives the glimpse of Himself to everyone according to their desires. Because not everyone wants God. Most people, the majority of us want something from God. We do not want God. We're something from God. We want prosperity. We want name and fame for ourselves. If that is what we want, God gives you that. If you want eternal happiness, if you want to be one with God, He fulfills your desires as well. That is how merciful the Lord Supreme is. God cannot be merciful and cruel at the same time. God cannot create heaven and hell at the same time. Mahamati Prananath's teachings, for that matter, is distinct from all the other religious teachings, because he talks about, he unravels the love, the kindness of Aksharapita, the Lord Supreme. As the book, The Conversation with God, states, we are the creator of our own circumstances. We are the ones who create circumstances in our lives. I chose to come to the States. It was my choice. If I suffer here, if I have some unfulfilled expectations here in this country, it is because of my choice. God did not ask me to go to the States. God didn't ask me to do this. Yet, the reality is, just like the parents are always there, whenever we made mistakes, whenever we did the right things, they were always there. Similarly, God is always there when we are lost and need His help. God can change the circumstances for good, make the circumstances better, and can help us in finding true happiness, just like the parents do. Does that mean God gives us everything that we need or want? No. Do parents do that? No, they do not do either. Even though they can afford everything that you want, parents do not readily provide them to you. Because doing so kills the whole purpose of learning by doing, earning, being worthy of that. Because a lot of times, not having things make us more motivated towards getting bigger things. Right? Let me give you an example of it. If someone points a gun at you and asks you to run a marathon, how would you feel it? You feel like that is the worst experience of your life. You feel like running away from that assignment. But if you continuously practice marathon for months and years, and finally you accomplish that, what happens? You have your parents come over, you have your friends come over and cheer for you. And you feel like you have accomplished something great, something meaningful, something purposeful. Same thing. You're running the marathon, one by force, the other by choice. God lets us make our choices, good or bad. That is why we say we are the creator of circumstances, not the God for us. So whenever we do things that do not go by the teachings of God or revelations made in those scriptures, punishing us to the eternity of hell, to hell, does not make sense, dear Sundarsaji. So we answered one of the most asked questions. Does God answer all our prayers? What is our relationship to God? Does God really send us to hell when we do not listen to Him? As it is stated in some of the scriptures, if you do not believe in this particular God, you are burned in eternal hellfire. That is not the case once you submit to the Lord Supreme Akshayati. He is always there for us. But we may have to face the consequences of our choices, because that is how we learn. We fail. That is why there is fun in standing right back up. We suffer. That helps us understanding the value of happiness. We are separated from our dear ones to realize how fortunate we are to be in their presence, to have them in our lives. So every good or bad experience that we are a part of in this world, it is our creation. Those circumstances are created by us, but God helps us find a way. When we really need His help, when we lose our way, He is always there. Such is the case with Devchandraji. When he thought all was gone, God showed him the path. God showed him the path. So would be the case with us in their sons. When we really call Him out, when we really need His help, it definitely comes to us. God will come in different shape or form. He may not appear in front of you in His divine radiant form, but He finds a way to come to you. That is the power of our spiritual practice. That is the power of the divinity that resides in all of us. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridarsharjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutanam yantraradhani mayaya. Yes, God resides in the soul of every living being. So He's always there whenever we need Him. We just need to open the inner heart, realize the inner self. When we do that, we find God in the most difficult of circumstances we encounter in our lives. Devchandraji got the first darsana of God in disguise. He does not yet know who he is, where he came from, and he does not have answers to any of his questions yet. Yet, he has the confidence that the God that he has been looking for is somewhere around. He can definitely find him. Devchandraji reached the participants of the marriage procession. The minister and all the people there were shocked to find him there because he was on foot and they were on their horsebacks and the carts. They asked him, "How could you find us? We were on the horses and cart and you were barefooted. क्यों कर राह पाई तुम क्यों पहुंचे असवारों संग तब जवाब श्री देवचंद्र जी दिया हम आए चले थे." They asked him how could he find the path. We were on our horses. Devchandraji said, "I ran as fast as I could. I came following the footsteps that the horses and cart left. कदमों पर धरे कदम तुम्हारे पीछे चले आए कदमों पर धरे कदम पाओ अपने बल से चले मार्ग." And I came on foot. Here Devchandraji does not speak the truth. He lies to those people. He did not state that he was assisted by God in disguise. While, Sundar Satsi, one of the biggest lessons here, while truthfulness, while speaking the truth, is regarded as one of the best virtues we have to have. Sometimes, for the preservation of righteousness, for the preservation of Dharma, one may have to speak lies, may speak the untruth. We know the story of Ashwatthama, the false news of the killing or the death of Ashwatthama, the son of Guru Dronacharya, by Yudhishthira, led to the victory of Pandavas over Kauravas in the great war of Mahamati. Had Dronacharya not given up his arms, the war would have been protracted, would have been extended. We don't know for how long. And the result could have turned either ways. But when Yudhishthira said that Ashwatthama was killed, Dronacharya renounced his weapon and was subsequently killed. In Mangal Supi, on some of the divine teachings of Guruji Sri Mangal Dasi, Guruji says, "सत्य की रक्षा के लिए झूठ बोल सकते हो, पर झूठ की रक्षा के लिए सत्य मत बोलो." What he means is that to preserve the truth, you can lie, but do not speak the truth for the preservation of wrongdoing. Devchandraji lies here. His lie means that he is humble. He does not overstate. He does not display his ego, what he just witnessed, whom he just met. It was the display of humility. He does not say, "Oh, I found God along the way. He was the one guiding me." They would have made fun of him. because they had never experienced such a thing in their lives. So there are some things better kept hidden. There are some things that be kept secret. Devchandraji felt that it was the right thing to do, not tell them about who he met, because that would either lead to the criticism of him or the ridicule of him, or they would glorify him. He did not want any of that at the moment. Devchandraji was asked to join them, those people participating in that marriage procession, to join them in the feast. He respectfully declined. At the register, they said, "You have to come and eat with us." Upon insistence, Devchandraji took some grains and lentils from them, but would cook on his own. Because Devchandraji is on a spiritual mission and is on a spiritual journey, and those people on that marriage procession were in the path of delusion. There are two paths. One path leading to spiritual understanding and spiritual growth and spiritual bliss. And there is another path that takes us towards world, takes us towards forgetfulness, takes us towards suffering. And these individuals participating in the wedding ceremony of the prince were walking on the ladder. Devchandraji cooks on his own and offers the food to the divine being, the God in disguise. He just had a person to meet. And then he eats the food. Finally, they agreed to include Devchandraji, gave him a seat on the horseback, and Devchandraji finally makes it to Kutch, located in present-day Gujarat, India, the place that he wanted to be for the last 6 years, because from the age of 11 he wanted to be there in Kutch. He wanted to stay there, but his parents would not allow, his dad would not allow. Dear Sundar Saji, in a Vata Sri Devchandraji aaye pahunche Kutch. Gare loka apne thora aap lage khojan. Such is the way that Devchandraji found a way to Kutch, a bigger city with a lot of temples, a lot of religious establishments, a lot of saints, scholars, sannyasis, the religious leaders of different sects, different denominations. The people that were participating in the wedding went to a different direction, and Devchandraji started his pursuit yet again. श्री महामती कहे साथ जी ये देवचंद्र जी की बीतक का आगे खोज करेंगे सोई बात. Dear Sundar Saji, Mahamati narrates the life of Devchandraji this way. And his pursuit of God, his pursuit of the self, his journey of self-realization continues. In Kutch, he starts wandering all around the temples. He continues his effort of finding the answers to his questions. He goes to different religious leaders. He goes to mosque. He goes to temples. He goes to sannyasi, the individual, the religious leader who have forsaken everything for spiritual pursuit is known as sannyasi. He goes to sannyasi. And the sannyasi tells him that he knows everything. He has answers to all the questions Devchandraji has. So Devchandraji is left with nothing but to believe in his words. But he asked Devchandraji be initiated with his mantra, the secret message or text or charm, spell, counsel given by religious leader upon initiation. That is what the mantra is. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavato Vasudevaya. These are some of the mantras that people chant. Devi Nama Sumirana Nishtayita Bhavitana. So the sannyasi, the renunciate, said, I will give you a mantra. So you chant this mantra all the time, and I will give you the answers to your questions. Devchandraji thought that if he is the one who is answering all my questions, why not? I'll be happily initiated by him. I would be happy to be initiated by the sannyasi. Devchandraji receives the mantra, stays with the sannyasi for a few months, but is promised he cannot provide convincing answers to the questions of Devchandraji. Because we said earlier, the questions that he had, why is there so much suffering in this world? How could God create a world full of misery and suffering? While God is all but suffering. While God is truth, knowledge, bliss, absolute. How could God create a world full of suffering? Who am I? Where did I came from? A lot of religious traditions, a lot of religious scriptures talk about going to heaven. And there are different heavens in different scriptures. In Hinduism, there are so many of them. But the question is not where we are going. The question is where we came from in the first place. Because it is our home where we find the solace. I have to be in my home to be free, to be independent. It is home where I can do whatever I want. If I'm a guest in somebody's places, I'm limited. I do not have many choices. I cannot just do anything that I want. So if you have not come from heaven, going to heaven does not give you the peace of mind, the comfort, the freedom that our soul desires. So Devchandraji cannot find answers from the sannyasi. And he leaves the place. He wanders around, asking these religious leaders, religious scholars questions, seemingly simple, but in reality, perplexing ones. The questions that are hard to answer. Dear Sundarsanaji, we'll continue to talk about the pursuit of Devchandraji tomorrow.